This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. I'm not sure if you heard this story about John Travolta, but it's a great opportunity to make people aware of how these secret societies work. Because John Travolta was caught off guard when he was put through a humiliation ritual on national television in Italy. So much so that he was so upset that he demanded that they remove the TV gag that was pulled on him. Now, of course, it's not funny to people like us when we see stuff like this. It's embarrassing. But that's ultimately the point. You see, in the secret societies, they make initiates go through humiliation rituals. These are things that they do in secret, but they also are done out in the public. Now, the rituals that are done in secret would never be allowed out in the public because they're illegal. They use them as means to blackmail one another. Things involving children, things involving all sorts of perverse acts that are taken and documented on picture. That way, these people never betray their fellowship in these secret fraternal orders. Now, John Travolta has done many things already out in the open to show his allegiance to the occult. Now, we've seen John Travolta hold up the 666 sign many times. I don't know what anybody's excuse is back in the 70s, back in the Saturday Night Fever days where John Travolta is seen holding up the 666 sign. I guess, does anybody have an excuse? Did he make a three? I don't know what other excuse we could have other than for people to realize that this is not just some random coincidence. This is a gang sign, the equivalent of a gang sign. And that reference they're making is 666 to the beast, and they always do it. We've seen John Travolta holding his hand over his eye, doing the all-seeing eye symbolism. And of course, we all probably, most of you should know, John Travolta even made the ultimate sacrifice, which these people are asked to do. And when you're asked to do it, you have to choose. You allow yourself to be sacrificed, or you're going to offer one of your loved ones. John, of course, like the stand-up guy he is, offered his own son to be a sacrificial lamb so he could remain here and continue to store up his treasures on earth and be worshipped by the dumbed-down masses that think that these people are just talented actors and don't realize that these people are devil worshippers who are using hypnosis on their audience. So let me get to the humiliation ritual that just occurred, and then I'll show you some more stuff in regards to humiliation rituals as well as John Travolta's connection to Scientology. But this guy on stage actually even had the nerve to show. I mean, this is how it's in plain sight, right? He holds up the 666 sign right in front of Travolta. You can see on Travolta's face, even in this photo, that he's a little bit caught off guard by what's occurring because he was told he was going to be there. He was going to do some Saturday Night Fever stuff. And then they just decided to go into not an initiation ritual, but a humiliation ritual, which is part of the initiation for new recruits. Travolta is not a new recruit, but he must have either ascended to a new level in Freemasonry or he owed them something. So they went about humiliating him on TV for not doing something that he was told to do. So this is what happened. They rolled John Travolta outside off of the stage, and he got sucked into this ritual, this bizarre humiliation ritual of, the chicken dance. I guess they're calling it the duck dance now. Take a look. So obviously, if you watch that clip, you can see Travolta's caught off guard and he's not happy. That's because they didn't pull a prank on him. They pulled a humiliation ritual on him. And as I said before I played you that clip, Travolta is not new to these secret societies. He's been in it for a very long time. He's ascended through Scientology as well. So he's in different covens, or whatever you want to call them, branches of these secret societies. But obviously, Travolta was called upon to do something and did not do what he was told. So they performed a humiliation ritual on him in public. Now, this isn't obviously the first for Travolta. We've seen Travolta, and this is the most common one that they do in public. You've all seen this before, when they have these celebrities dress up in drag. I'm sure you've heard, Cat Williams make reference to it, Dave Chappelle make reference to it, even though these same people are a part of the club who just use the word Illuminati, who will never go out of their way to ever mention Eastern Star witches or Freemasons, because then people would actually be able to see that this is something real, and it's not just something real, it's within their reach, because these Freemason lodges that recruit people, and then as they ascend in Freemasonry, find out that Lucifer is the god of this world, people would realize that this is going on in their own towns, and what would occur is the infiltration of local governments, et cetera, would stop, because the people would ban this from actually being allowed. Now, this would cause a major, major issue with the current government regime, because they're all members of the same secret societies, the Republicans and the Democrats, who are doing Albert Pike his bidding to begin World War III with what we're seeing over in the Middle East, as well as the civil unrest in this country. So that's what their job is, order out of chaos. So back to John Travolta. So if you haven't seen before, there's even photographs of some of their teachings that have leaked onto the internet where you could see humiliation rituals, where they do the the initiation on riding a goat. Of course, you have your goat references because these people are Satanists. You have your electric branding irons, one of the popular pictures that people have seen out there. So it's not just a hazing. That's what people don't understand. They think of this stuff and they think it's like a fraternity. There's a big difference between the two. Okay. Now, fraternities are also gateways into secret societies. There are people in fraternities that end up getting recruited into something like Freemasonry or even something bigger. At Ivy League schools, there's fraternities that present themselves as fraternities, which are not, like Skull and Bones, where we see a lot of our political figures who are plants who have all gone through these secret societies like Yale at these Ivy League schools, or like Skull and Bones at these Ivy League schools, and then been placed in positions of power, and all they've done is cause chaos in those positions of power, because that's what their teachings tell them to do. Order out of chaos, to continue to sabotage the current structure to bring about a new world order, globalist government in which these people will have control over our lives. And that doesn't just mean, having control over the financial institutions like a lot of people think. Literally your every movement, because the carbon footprint, which John Kerry from Skull and Bones. I mean, I love the fact that John Kerry supposedly ran against Bush, and they're both Skull and Bones members. Everyone remembers that news clip where he got called out, and that guy, mysteriously died a few weeks later for them being in Skull and Bones. But everyone believes that they actually are running against each other. I mean, at this point, you got to realize that the elections are not real. And everyone goes, well, what do we do about it? Well, you don't participate. You stay in the psychological operation by participating in it. You give power to them by listening to them, by watching them. Remove their power. If the civilians remove the power that they hold over people's minds, you break free from it. Okay? So while hazing is done in Freemasonry, etc., the rituals that they partake in, the humiliation rituals, are a lot worse than just going on TV and having you do a duck dance without you realizing it, catching you off guard and forcing you to do it on TV. Right? And of course, Travolta didn't know this was going to happen. You could tell by the look on his face and the fact that he, his agents, et cetera, he, was trying to press charges and sue, et cetera, to get that video clip removed. But with the internet, they can't do that because people recorded it off their television screens because they were like, this is the most, ridiculous crap I've ever seen. They had it DVR'd. And it went viral in a sense. And now John Travolta's livid that he's a meme. And this is no different than you see like guys poking fun at one another. Right? But there's obviously rooted reason for it because they wouldn't just do this to one another unless there was a reason for it. Now, Vince McMahon is another example, which I can't talk about here. Maybe I'll talk about on the website if people want me to talk about it. But I've covered Vince McMahon over the years. Vince McMahon is a high-ranking Freemason. So everything you see going on with McMahon is McMahon was defying orders, and McMahon is being put through a humiliation ritual. Nothing will happen to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon is not going to serve time behind bars. Vince McMahon is being embarrassed in the public. He has billions of dollars, okay? He clearly didn't take an order he was supposed to take. Now, some people think that has to do with his connection to Donald Trump, but that is not true at all because Donald Trump is one of them as well. But Vince McMahon, if you haven't heard, was accused of doing all of these humiliating acts with women, not just forcing himself on women, but defecating on them, all sorts of things that actually these people are not embarrassed about, okay? But they'd be embarrassed for you to find out about it, but this is what they all do in secret. They do these disgusting acts involving fecal matter. In fact, a lot of Satanists who I've exposed over the years, part of their initiation process is a satanic baptism, which is either in the blood of another human or an animal, pig's blood, or actually in feces, and sometimes they mix the two, and that's how they're baptized in Satanism. Okay, the most appalling possible things you can imagine. So Travolta, I was just laughing at this because Travolta is also connected to Scientology, and people out there are like, he's not a Freemason, he's a Scientologist, okay? A lot of these people go through Freemasonry, they're initiated in Freemasonry, and then they end up in other sects, SCCTs of, satanic covens and secret societies, but they're all rooted in Freemasonry. So even Scientology is rooted in Freemasonry. The same way in Scientology, you evolve to certain degrees and levels, like you do in Freemasonry. A lot of the teachings are similar. Obviously, L. Ron Hubbard, the guy who created Scientology, and I have breakdowns on him on the website as well. He has tie-ins to Aleister Crowley. He has tie-ins to NASA and Jack Parsons. Okay, that's because all of these, fake religious setups, they're not really religious. These are obviously operations for mind control, operations to initiate other people in Hollywood, in secret society practices and rituals. So That's what Scientology really is in a nutshell. I mean, people look at them and they're like, oh, they're kooky and they're crazy, but it also distracts people from ever going down the deep rabbit hole of Freemasonry, right? More people have heard of Scientology than have heard of Freemasonry, right? And why do you think they want you to do that? Because, well, you'll find Scientology buildings in big cities, but guess what? You'll find a Freemason lodge in a small town, and they fear that people rise up against their lodges, and they find out, hey, they don't pay taxes on their property. They're exempt. Oh, these people, it's not even considered soil. Like they're free to do anything they want on their own property. Okay, they're exempt from it. The police will turn a blind eye because, of course, the police, they also have the Masonic Fraternal Order for the police, and the police are a part of it as well. So Freemasonry is the root. And while we always talk about the higher ups, we talk about the Vatican, we talk about what's going on over in Israel, okay? But Freemasonry needs to be known about because you could really stop this thing from happening, this machine, by taking out the legs. And the legs of it all goes to Freemasonry and Eastern Star. And they're the ones who are scheming in your towns. They're trying to recruit and brainwash your children by pretending that they're, we have the D-Malays, we have these other groups that are like Boy Scouts for boys, Girl Scouts for girls. Then we're just good people who want to hang out with your kids. They want to indoctrinate them with this stuff. Then they network with each other. And that's how we've gotten to this point. Our forefathers were Freemasons, but it really got more and more corrupt ever since they invented what was called the American Dream. And they started giving people money and everybody was buying homes. They were distracted while they were branching out and networking out. They run and control all the corporations. They run and control Hollywood and the music industry. And they're the ones who are causing all of this mind control, this racial division. It roots from them. The black Freemasons, the Prince Halls, the Bulls, and then the white Freemasonic lodges. They work together, hand in hand with one another. They're the ones who create all of these psychological operations on the masses to bring about a global new world order. So Freemasonry serves a big purpose in this, and I didn't want to go off track. Obviously, this video is about Travolta, his humiliation ritual. You've seen them all before. These people dressing up as women on TV. I mean, I love how everyone looks and like they laugh. It's embarrassing. Hollywood will show some of these people like Derek Jeter, I've covered in the past, The Rock, dressed up in drag. And then when it comes to real life, you're not allowed to laugh at the people who are dressed up in drag. Pretty incredible, right, how this works. Because they know they're the ones responsible for all the chaos. They're the ones responsible for all the stuff that's driving you insane on the inside. Whether it's the stuff going on with how they're normalizing trans, all this stuff stems from them. And they know what they're doing. They're gaslighting all the civilians into war against each other while they're laughing in front of our faces. And then they do these rituals to, whatever they could have asked Travolta to do. Some people are like, well, what did they ask him to do? They could have asked him to make another sacrifice. They could have asked him to come out on TV and support the communist agenda. A lot of these guys, if they don't go out and support communists, they're either asked to support the conservative side because both sides are controlled. So that's like Dennis Quaid, et cetera, do. Mark Wahlberg. Or they're asked to go out on the other side of it and be these extremists who are like so heavy into the trans stuff. And some of them don't want to participate in it. You don't hear Tom Cruise participating out openly in this stuff because he's so, caught up in his own image. And that's probably what Travolta's going through too, that he doesn't want his image, tarnished for people to not go see his movies anymore. Not like anyone sees him anymore anyway. John Travolta hasn't really been that relevant since Pulp Fiction. But these people go through these things because they don't follow the orders or rules that they're supposed to, or they break one of their Masonic oaths. They have oaths to one another. So he could have broke one. He could have done something he wasn't supposed to do that we would never know about. And then they pull a little prank on him, which is a humiliation ritual. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you as always and your families.